So I was just reading a little story today from Sri Ramakrishna about realizing God. And there was a devotee that was just saying how difficult it is. Just it seems so unreasonable. Like, what a high ideal. I don't think anybody can make it. And so it's both encouraging what Sri Ramakrishna answers and a bit challenging also. Let me read it to you, this little dialogue that they had. So the devotee says to Sri Ramakrishna, I find it is extremely difficult for a householder to realize God. How few people can lead the life that you prescribe for them. I haven't found any. All right. He's quite clear. And I think all of us feel that way. Certainly, there's times when I'm cross-eyed too and thinking, good Lord, what have I undertaken for a life here? But the master says to him, why should that be so? I've heard of some. I've heard of a deputy magistrate. His name is Pratap Singh. He's a great man. He has many virtues, compassion, devotion to God. He meditates on God. Once he sent for me. Certainly, there are other people like him. The practice of discipline is absolutely necessary. Right. There's the news. The practice of discipline. We do have to learn to be able to focus our mind, to control our mind, and to control our bodies. Because we are not the body or mind. We are in the hierarchy above both of them. So it's our duty to learn that, to understand that, to grow into that responsibility of being able to run a body and a mind responsibly and not have them drive us, so that they don't decide what we do by raising up these little desires for pleasure, for hunger, for whatever it is. He says the practice of discipline is absolutely necessary. Why shouldn't a man succeed if he practices sadhana, if he practices this discipline? But he doesn't have to work hard if he has real faith. Faith in his guru's words, right? Once Vyasa was about to cross the Jamuna, a river, when the gopis, the girls that were hanging around Sri Krishna, when the gopis also arrived there, wishing to go to the other side of the river. But no ferry boat was inside. So they said to Vyasa, Revered sir, what shall we do now? Don't worry, said Vyasa, I will take you across the river. But I am very hungry. Have you anything for me to eat? So the gopis had plenty of milk and cream and butter with them, and Vyasa, he ate it all. Then the gopis asked, Well, sir, what about crossing the river? Vyasa stood on the bank of the Jamuna and said, O Jamuna, if I have not eaten anything today, then may your waters part so that we may walk to the other side. No sooner did the sage utter these words than the waters of the Jamuna parted. The gopis were speechless with wonder. He ate so much just now, they said to themselves. And he says, if I haven't eaten anything, then let your waters be parted. It's like, what? How is that possible? Vyasa had the firm conviction that it was not himself, but the Lord Narayana who dwelt in his heart that had partaken of the food. You see, he was a realized soul, so he knew that there was nothing here but an ego, which is just an arrangement of thinking, that really in his true essence, he was the divine. He was one without a second. He had no relationship to the whole because he was the whole, right? He was the complete integrated self. So it's an interesting setup here. The first message is, of course, don't be discouraged. Yes, it's important to be disciplined. But why is it important to be disciplined? Because that's where our freedom is. We don't get to be controlled or have to be controlled by the body and its desires, by lust and greed. We don't have to be controlled by the moods and fickleness of the mind, that we can be established in an ongoing state of contentment and bliss and joy and just the great happiness of being. If we can, one, manage to break away from this slavery of the desires, continual and ever-changing, that the body and mind present to us. And that it's not so hard. It's not that it takes a lot of hard work and a hard doing. It's not like that. Of course, there is a perspective from which that is true too, but it's more about having a full heart, about doing it because you know it to be true and you love love. You love the ideal, and you just want to throw yourself at it. Because what else is there in this life? You know, when I was in the monastery for 6 years, I had a little bit of a crisis. I thought, God, I've left everything. I left my job as a programmer. I've left all my money, my house, my car, my cell phone. Everything was gone. And I thought, what if this isn't true? what if I've dedicated my life to being a monk and it turns out to not be true? And I sat in the shrine that day and kind of tried to work that through and thought, really, what have I done? And I thought to myself, you know, if there's nothing after death, right? If we just die, as many of the materialists think, and many people say so, then I thought to myself, well, what have I lost? I've lost nothing. It makes absolutely no difference how I live my life if there's nothing, right? And so I thought to myself, you know, even if there's nothing, I'm living my life for an ideal, for love, for a beautiful ideal, for service, for caring, for compassion, you know, for freedom. And I thought, so it doesn't matter if there's nothing. You know, this is a beautiful ideal to live for. And if life has no meaning in and apart from what I give it, then this is the meaning I give to it. To learn to love, to learn to be the greatest of lovers, the most selfless of lovers. And then I thought, if there is something, if all of this turns out to be true, then what a great decision I made. Yay, good for me. And the third one is not knowing either way for sure what the outcome is, since I haven't had that highest experience, then I do what I enjoy. And I enjoy this challenge. It's a lifelong challenge. It's a challenge at least as big as I am, probably quite a bit bigger. But it's a beautiful challenge. And it's a challenge that has led me to such light, such beauty, such joy inside. And so really this is what Sri Ramakrishna is talking about here in faith. Go forward. Throw yourself into love. Don't reserve any part out of fear or out of doubt. If there's nothing, it doesn't matter, and it's a beautiful ideal. If there's everything, then you've won the game. And if you don't know, you've got a lifelong challenge to reach something amazing and beautiful. What an accomplishment to become a lover of everybody, you know, a selfless person. And this idea of knowing our nature, you know, which Ramakrishna says is the point of life, is to find out who you are and what you are. And here we have our man Vyasa showing us that we're not the mind and the body, that we are this divine presence that's present in everyone. That before we go through a mind and get a particular personality, before we go through a body and get a particular gender and age and disposition and nationality and religion, before we go through that mind and body, we are one, without a second. We are the same. We are that essence of love, that essence of bliss, and the real miracle and wonder of existence. Go forward. Find your highest ideal. Don't hold back. Don't lose yourself in doubt and fear.